Okay, welcome back to the Roast It Yourself podcast brought to you by Coffee Bean Corral and Current Crop Roasting Shop. I'm Stephen Burnett from Coffee Bean Corral in Jackson, Mississippi, and with me is Catherine Mansell, Certified Q Grader and Director of Current Crop in New Orleans, Louisiana. Catherine, how are you today?
I'm excited. I rarely get to do the podcast in person, and I love seeing the staff here, all the new dogs, new faces at Coffee Bean Corral. It's pretty great.
We hire a lot of dogs.
Yeah, lots of dogs.
Yeah, lots of dogs.
Yes.
We're big fans of dogs. Well, it's good to see you too, by the way.
Yeah.
And this is wonderful. This is going to be, say rarely, but this is going to be, 6 episodes in a row?
Yeah.
We might just get used to this. We might just keep doing it. Each week, we set aside 10 minutes to field questions from home coffee roasters and professionals alike about roasting, tasting, and most importantly, enjoying coffee. You can send your questions to questions@riypod.com. That's questions@riypod.com to get a nice shout out from us in an upcoming episode and to get your question answered. Someone who did that is Kyle, and he wrote us this awesome email. Hey guys, thanks for the podcast. I've been looking for a podcast just like this. It's ticking all of the boxes. Wow.
Very cool.
We tick all the boxes.
There you
That's
go.
right. All green flags here. All green flags. I started on a popcorn popper and then went to a fresh roast and then to the Aleo bullet.
There you go.
I'm telling you, meteoric rise right there.
Mhm.
I have been a consistent customer of Coffee Bean Corral and love all the offerings you have. I've enjoyed my coffee roasting journey, and this podcast is helping me learn so much. I have a ton of questions, but we'll start with just one. Could you help me understand first crack a bit more? Typically, I hear a few cracks initially, and then some seconds pass before I hear a collection of cracks. What would cause this? And should I be clocking time as I hear the first of the first cracks, or wait for the first cracks cracking together? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? In a very general sense, in your opinion, wanting to highlight the fruity, acidic flavors of the bean, should I be trying to reach first crack early on in the roast, or is it best to wait and let the bean develop? Then, when first crack hits, should I be trying to get through first crack fast as possible, or try to slow down the first crack process? What am I losing or gaining with these two processes? Okay, that's much more than one question. I'm glad Kyle, he knew I was going to call him out. I was about to. I was fixing to. That's much more than one question. Sorry about that. Pick and choose or none at all. I'll be a listener either way. Thanks again,
That's
Kyle.
very sweet.
Kyle, wow.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice letter.
Yeah.
Well, Catherine, I'm going to toss that over to you first. You can take any of these 30 questions that Kyle
Sure.
asked.
I really like the way that he framed it too. I feel like these are questions that I've had before in my head. So, first crack is what's happening is the moisture that's on the inside of the bean is escaping. That's why it's such a loud pop, and it sounds like popcorn most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll hear maybe one or two random cracks. And then you'll have first crack. So right when I write down when first crack has started is when I hear the continuous cracking. So that random one or two is not where I mark that's first crack.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I'm in the bullet and I'm marking everything, the first couple of pops, I'm not marking that first crack button yet. I'm waiting until it actually starts a continuous pop before I mark it on the profile on Roast World. And I think what's happening there when you just hear one or two, just those beans have already.
Those beans have hit the first crack level. Yeah.
So that's
well, and some take. We're looking at averages here, right? Because if you have a smaller bean, it's going to pop first, right? If you have a bean it takes less, it just takes less time to roast a lighter density bean than a heavier density bean.
Mm-hmm.
So those are going to pop first. And there's another thing too here, and that is that the first crack is the pressure buildup inside the bean, like going one direction, and then the bean actually breaking down, like the body of the bean is breaking down as it roasts. So when those two hit, right, when the pressure increase meets the weakening of the bean, you get first crack. So if you have a bean that's already weaker, it's going to pop first. Just like towards the end of first crack, you have a few pops, pop, 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 as it kind of peters out.
Right.
So some beans take less time and less energy. Some beans take more time and more energy to get that first crack.
Yeah.
We're looking for the average. We're looking for when a lot of beans in this start popping.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, the second part, wanting to highlight the fruity acidic flavors, is something I've been working on for the past 6 or 9 months, and that's we talked about. I was asking Michael Matthews why am I muting this acidity? So, um, a lighter roast is a shorter roast, but um, if you're doing this in the bullet, you're going to start off with your charge temp higher, way higher. So when I want to do a light roast, my charge temp is maybe 554, 563.
Yeah.
So when I charge, I can have a shorter roast to where I can still hold all of the fruity notes, all of the acidity in it. So it's a shorter roast hitting or starting with higher heat at the beginning. And that should highlight the acidity, really pronounce that fruity notes and the sweetness that's in the beginning of your roast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. Something else to consider here in with the first crack thing, you can get it is important to highlight, so you can, when you're taking notes, when you record first crack. That's important.
Yeah.
But more important is consistency in your note taking. So if you record, if you're like, oh man, I'm 30 seconds later, it's not get started 30 seconds ago, I just didn't notice it, or maybe I missed something. It was very light roast or very light first crack. If that's the case, then just record it the same way every time. Like if you're a first couple of snaps person, record it the same way every time. I think it's not as good a way of doing it, but it's much better than changing when you count first crack with every single roast.
Yeah.
Being consistent in your record keeping is what's going to help you develop as a roaster. So for me, I get really granular. And so I go, if I get 3 snaps, snap, 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 I'm recording it. Right. I'm not waiting. Even if there's a small delay after that, I'm counting it right there, because that's my little 3 beans just voted. And so that's all I need. I got quorum right there. And so we have first crack.
Yeah.
So be consistent in the way that you take these notes, because that's going to help you be better. It's going to help you get better faster as well. But yeah, that's basically first crack. And I mean, honestly, first crack, I think it gets a lot of attention, but yet it gets so much attention that people don't feel the need to address these kind of like, what is it? What's happening?
Yeah.
When do you count it? In the espresso world, it's always like the 30-second shot. But if you do a pre-infusion, which if you don't know what that is, that doesn't matter. But if you do a pre-infusion, do you count the pre-infusion time in the 30 seconds? Or are you counting after pre-infusion is over with? The espresso people will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the answer you always get is pick one and record from that point on. And that's how you do it. So a good question, Kyle. I think we covered everything. Did we cover everything?
Almost.
Oh, okay.
So then when first crack hits, should I be trying to get through first crack as fast as possible or slow down the first crack process? So different roasters, I do things a tad bit differently. So if I'm going for a light roast and a fresh roast, right when my first crack starts, I jump over to the power and lower it all the way down. So I stall out the temperature so it's not continuing to increase, so everything can even out and stay that lighter roast.
Yeah.
When I'm roasting on the bullet and I'm working for a lighter roast, normally I drop the power down by half, about a minute and a half or 2 minutes before I hit first crack. So you can watch your ROR curve just continuously go lower and lower. And then depending on the percentage of development that I see, I may drop the beans before first crack is finished, or I may wait until first crack is finished. So it just depends on, especially on the bullet, the information that I'm seeing as I'm roasting is determining when I'm going to cool everything down.
Yeah. That's awesome. And one last thing I want to say is I'm aware, we roast a lot, and we roast a lot for our jobs, which means we don't have to pay for beans. Like we just get to roast. I want to roast this today. And then someone called about this coffee. I'm going to check this new sample out. And so I am aware that our methodology is a little bit more haphazard with the beans. Like, just keep trying.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. That's because we're
Right.
not paying for each
Right.
pound of these beans. So I
Yeah.
understand the
Yeah.
like trepidation of like, but I just spent my real money on this.
Mhm.
I don't want a trial and error.
Yeah.
And that's why we do the show. We
Mhm.
want to provide whatever insight we can to help you to get the best roast possible out of every single
Yeah.
bean that you get. But it is unavoidable. The trial and error aspect is
Yeah.
absolutely a thing.
Yeah.
And that's for a lot of reasons, not least of which is that everyone's roaster, even if you have the identical roaster from the same company, they're going to perform differently under different circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's going to be some of both. We're trying to do our best to give you the best information we can
Yeah.
so that you can get the most out of these beans. But
Yeah.
understand there's a bit of a difference there. So yeah, but besides that, I think we finally did cover it all, didn't we?
Maybe.
We maybe did. I'm sure
Maybe.
we were wrong about something, but we definitely covered the all 30 questions that Kyle
Right.
had given us.
Yes.
But yeah, so Kyle, thank you so much for that question. It was very, very sweet,
Yeah.
and we're hopeful we're helpful to you there.
Yeah.
Dear listeners, if you have a different perspective or think we dropped the ball anywhere in this, please leave a comment. Drop a comment every time we dropped a ball in the comment section of YouTube or in the podcast app of your choice. And if you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it, which you didn't because we really enjoy making these things, please leave it a rating and a review, all that kind of stuff for us. We're excited to watch the Roast It Yourself podcast grow and take over the world, and we can't do it without you. I also want to say, by the way, we are going to be having a New Year's live stream event.
Yeah.
New Year's live stream, which is going to happen on the 3rd. It's a Friday.
Yeah.
So the 3rd of July, 3rd of January.
Yes.
We're going to have an event. If you buy a roaster from us, you get a free ticket. We are working on a way to get you listeners tickets as well. So we'll be out on that here shortly. But I want to let you know about that coming up. And it's going to be one of these, but a lot longer and live. And you can ask questions. You can ask follow-up questions as well.
Ask me anything.
Anything.
Yes.
AMA. RIY, all the letters of the alphabet will be there. So anyway, we'll get you information on that. You're invited. We'll figure out how to make it happen, but we'll get you information on that as well.
It's my dad's birthday.
Is that right? We should have him as a guest. We should sing happy birthday to him.
Yeah. Great.
Anyway, so remember to send any questions you have about coffee roasting in general or coffee drinking, brewing to us at questions@riypod.com. Otherwise, have a great day and happy roasting.
Thank y'all.